Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out with us tonight to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Title IX. We have been doing things all year long. If you've been following along, each of our female teams have been honoring a former alum at their games for Title IX this year. And we appreciate you all coming in and sharing in this monumentous occasion. We have a really exciting panel for you tonight. We have some gems in the audience that are going to share in their experiences here as former student athletes, coaches, and administrator. I'm going to start by bringing up our Director of Athletics, Jermaine Truett.
Thank you, Natasha. Good to see everyone. Obviously, a very exciting night, and can't wait to hear what our panelists have to say. Absolutely fabulous. So, good evening. Honored to welcome everybody back. So many distinguished alumni as a part of this important night, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Title IX and the dawn of women athletics at the collegiate level. Last fall, the Patriot League honored 50 trailblazers of distinction, 5 from each member institution as a part of the 50th anniversary of Title IX. All 5 of Bucknell honorees are rightfully enshrined in the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame, and we'd like to take a moment now to recognize each of them.
The first trailblazer of distinction is Margaret Peg Bryan. Peg Bryan served as the Director of Women's Intercollegiate Athletics from 1945 until 1981, and she was the guiding force in establishing the women's athletics program at Bucknell. She oversaw the university's women's phys ed and recreation programs. She guided a very successful women's athletics program well before it received formal varsity recognition. 2 of our trailblazers, unfortunately, could not be with us tonight. Bobby Caston-Seidel from the class of 1979 and Molly Creamer from the class of 2003. Bobby was a 3-sport athlete in field hockey, basketball, and lacrosse, and was one of the first 2 women elected into the Hall of Fame. Molly is Bucknell's all-time greatest women's basketball player. She scored more than 2,400 career points, graduated with 22 Bucknell and 13 Patriot League records, and was a first-round draft pick for the WNBA's New York Liberty. We are pleased to have with us 2 of our trailblazers of distinction. First is Karen Isley from the class of 1979. Along with Bobby Castens, Karen was also one of the first 2 women elected to the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame. She was one of first 3-sport captains in field hockey, basketball, and lacrosse. She graduated with school scoring records in both field hockey and lacrosse. Karen, please come up to receive your award. Also back with us this evening is Dawn Becker from the class of 1985. Dawn was a record-setting pitcher on the softball team during her Bucknell days and was also an academic All-American and 2-time East Coast Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year. Dawn, please step forward to receive your award. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for our Patriot League trailblazers. Before we get started with our panel tonight, I want to kick it to a video that we have that gives a little more insight into the 50th anniversary and how Title IX has impacted athletics here at Bucknell.
It's a great thing to be playing sports, and all the nonsense that they thought, women can't play sports during this particular time of month because something terrible would happen, all that is a bunch of nonsense. And I just feel like having these opportunities for women is a great thing. And I feel proud to be a pioneer that our classes in the 70s paved the way for the student athletes today.
It's sad that we have to have a day to say it's National Women's Sports Day. That's sad, but on the other hand, it is good that we finally are still getting recognized for it. We're not there yet. I mean, we got a ways to go, but we've come such a long ways.
While I was at Colgate as a student athlete, I was definitely aware of the players that came before me and what their experience was and how it transformed over the years and how it got better and better, and still has a ways to go, but I'm so grateful and thankful for all those players that came before us and all the coaches and the women that made it happen.
This was a playing field out here. It was like a cow pasture. You couldn't push the ball. You had to hit the ball to make it go forward in field hockey. And toward the golf course side, the farmer alternated between soybeans and corn stalks. And we were very happy when there were corn stalks out there because the closest bathroom was across Route 15 in the field house, and nobody wanted to take 15 minutes to go to the bathroom there. So we would duck in the cornfields. When there was soybean, we were in big trouble.
So as our distinguished guests make their way up to the stage, we're just going to give you a little information on who we have with us tonight. I'm going to bring up Joel.
All right. First up, we have Maura Fiamencini. Maura graduated in 2021 as one of the most highly decorated athletes in Bucknell women's track and field history. A native of nearby Mount Carmel, Fiamencini broke the school record in the javelin throw in the very first meet of her freshman year, and she dominated that event throughout the remainder of her career. Her 2020 season was canceled due to the pandemic, but in each of her 3 full collegiate seasons, Fiamencini won the Patriot League gold medals and went on to earn 3 All-America citations at the NCAA championships. As a senior, Fiamencini finished 3rd at the NCAA championships and 7th at the U.S. Olympic trials. She graduated with the Bucknell, Patriot League, and Christy Mathewson Memorial Stadium records in the javelin throw, and she received the prestigious Christy Mathewson Award as the top Bucknell athlete in the class of 2021. Also a Dean's List student in mathematics, Fiamencini is currently working as a business intelligence analyst for United Health Services. Let's welcome Maura. All right, next up, Krista Matlack, class of 2011, a four-year member of the Bucknell women's soccer program. Krista graduated as one of the top scorers in Bucknell women's soccer history. At the time of her graduation, she ranked 5th in goals with 32, 5th in points with 78, and 7th in assists with 14. Krista helped the Bison reach the Patriot League playoffs in each of her 4 seasons, and in 2011, she received the Christy Mathewson Award. Krista earned first-team All-Patriot League honors in 08, 09, and 10, and was named the league's Offensive Player of the Year in both 09 and 10. In addition, she was selected as the National Soccer Coaches Association of America Scholar Athlete All-American twice, in 2009, 3rd team, 2010, 2nd team. In 2015, she was selected as a member of the Patriot League 25th anniversary team, joining a prestigious group of 25 of the league's top women's soccer players. Most recently, Krista was a first ballot inductee to the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2021. Quite a lot of accolades that I'm honored to be up here talking about for Krista. Krista graduated with honors from Bucknell in 2011, where she majored in biology with minors in philosophy and studio art. She has since gone on, and most recently, she has stepped into a liaison role, and we're lucky to say in the Bucknell Athletics Department, providing a point of contact within the Center for Career Advancement to student athletes and athletic staff. Welcome, Krista.
Our next panelist that we would like to welcome back is Jennifer Yingling from class of 1993. Jen was an outstanding catcher and leadoff hitter for the softball team, and during her career, the Bison compiled a 95-50 record. She hit .397 as a senior and .332 for her career. She was a 2-time all-conference selection. Professionally, Jen is part of the 6th generation of the Yingling family brewers, and she now serves as the Vice President of Operations. Please welcome Jennifer Yingling. Our next panelist, we love her. Recently retired from Bucknell, Terry Greed. Terry came to Bucknell in 1978 as a 22-year-old coach, just after finishing her own outstanding athletics career at Lock Haven University. Terry coached volleyball, basketball, and softball. And during the 1980-81 academic year, she was actually the head coach of all 3 sports at the same time. I don't know if many will do that now. Her greatest success came on the softball diamond, where she became the program's first varsity head coach in 1979 and remained until her retirement from coaching in 2000. She compiled 307 wins in 21 seasons and led the Bison to their first Patriot League championship in 1997. After stepping down as a coach, Terry continued to serve Bison Athletics as the Associate Director of Athletics for Business and Team Services until her recent retirement this past January. All told, she dedicated 45 years to serving Bison's teams and student athletes. Please welcome back Hall of Famer Terry. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce our moderator for tonight's panel, a 2006 Bucknell graduate and mayor of Lewisburg, Kendi Alvarez. Throughout her career, Ms. Alvarez has been a true community builder, connecting people, organizations, systems throughout Susquehanna Valley. She has served as the Director of Events and Marketing for the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce, supporting businesses throughout the region. She has also been the lead organizer for 1 Million Cups, a community program that empowers entrepreneurs, and she has served on boards of the Lewisburg Downtown Partnership, Lewisburg Neighborhood Corporation, Evangelical Hospital Community and Patient Advisory Council, Penn State Extensive County Advisory Council. Ms. Alvarez attended the Lewisburg Area School District and was recognized as the Young Professional of the Year by the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce in 2018. And perhaps most impressive, she is the 4-time winner of the Lewisburg Ice Festival Chili Cook-Off. Please welcome Mayor Kendi Alvarez.
Good to know about that chili.
It's the most important. Kendi, it's all yours.
Thank you. Now, we have an impressive panel of women up here, and so they've been instructed to answer the questions in a more conversational way. So don't feel like we're just going to be up here talking at you. They're going to be having conversations about their experience, and it's going to be a bit interactive. And then at the end, we'll open up for questions from the audience. So we're going to start with the past. And yes, Terry, how do you feel Title IX legislation has impacted your experience as an athlete, a coach, and an administrator?
So as I look around here and probably out there, I'm probably one of the few people that was in high school prior to Title IX. So I'm in 9th and 10th grade in high school. The boys have wrestling, football, and baseball, and we had nothing. I could go and practice with them, do whatever. Nope, we didn't have any sports. So even in like phys ed class, when we had basketball class, we had 3 on this side of the court and 3 on this side, divided by half court. And you could only go to half court and then you had to pass the ball because it was the theory that girls couldn't run the whole length of a basketball floor. That's how bad it was. So 10th grade, Title IX comes. We get sports. So I was going to be a math teacher. That's because I loved math. And then all of a sudden, you know, I get softball and I get basketball. So I go to college because of Title IX, and I get to play both in college. And has anyone ever heard of Carol Ekman? No basketball people here? The national award is named after Carol Ekman, who was the coach at Lock Haven. And so I played basketball for her and softball. So I go from changing my major from math, just made it a minor, and I majored in coaching and health and physical education. So I graduate, and thanks to sports, I get to come to Bucknell and start 2 new sports here. So Title IX totally changed my life, and definitely wouldn't be the same without Title IX for me.
I think after listening to Grebe talk, it's given me more awareness of what we've experienced, and I think we took it for granted growing up. I mean, most of us in this room, obviously we all played sports growing up, and coming back to campus, I'm just so envious now of the facilities that today's female student athletes have, and it's been an amazing journey, and without student athletes like Grebe and the other trailblazers who are here tonight, I think it's given us all an awareness and appreciation, and something that we should always keep in the back of our minds and be thankful for Title IX itself and those women before us who have been such amazing student athletes to get us to this point.
Thank you. What has changed at Bucknell through the years as Title IX legislation transformed?
All right, I'm going to start. You got about 3 hours here. All right, so I come to Bucknell. They're adding sports, and they mentioned Peg Bryant. She was the women's athletic director, and we had a separate for men. You know, that's not happening today. We had multiple duties. We had no assistants. We barely had facilities. Our practice clothes, but did they exist?
We had the stamper
general
t-shirts.
issue, yeah. We didn't have dugouts. Fields were horrible. I lined my own field. I'd rake it. I never had a full-time assistant. And we weren't allowed to use, as women, when I first came here for basketball, we didn't play in Davis Gym because that was the basketball arena. We had to play in Tustin Gym. We played in Tustin Gym, which is down by the physical plant for anyone who's ever been there. So there's a track that ran around the top. And so you would have a game there. Well, you couldn't devise a play that would shoot from the corner because the track was like 6 feet hanging out over the court. And that's where we started. Yeah. So, I mean, it took, I don't want to say it took 10 years, but it was pretty close to 10 years before we started getting some budgets and some better facilities. Like our softball field used to be where the baseball field is, and yeah, we had the cornfields, and baseball actually was right where you came into campus, right where the new sign is and where the new turf field, that's where baseball field was. So facilities, budgets, travel. My first year, we played 6 games, 4-2. That was it. Yeah, and you didn't travel far, never traveled far, and we did vans for I don't know how many years. So has Title IX helped? Oh, immensely, immensely.
I think that just kind of speaks to how far we've actually come in the last 50 years. As an athlete in the younger generation, I was someone who got the opportunity to travel across the country and even across the world competing in the sport that I love, and that's something that Terry may not have never experienced in her time. So I think we just need to keep remembering the women that came before us. And again, I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I got, and I wouldn't be here because of Title IX.
So with that, Maura, can you tell us more about the things that you've experienced and the opportunities that you've gotten as a result of Title IX?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just being able to actually come to Bucknell was an experience that I may not have gotten. As an athlete growing up, I come from, a very small town. Through Title IX, we've gotten many scholarship opportunities for women's athletics, and I think without that scholarship, I might not see myself at Bucknell today. So,
Krista?
Yeah, so when I came to Bucknell, there were no athletic scholarships. At least for women's soccer. I believe there was a women's basketball, I think, had them at the time. I only know that because my roommate was a women's basketball player. But, so I came on financial aid, and I was definitely, like Maura, somebody that was local that probably wouldn't be here without the help of Title IX. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for soccer. And my ability to play sports. So it's really nice to acknowledge the trailblazers that made it possible for me to pursue such a great education, because otherwise I would have been going to a state school, and yeah, I would have probably played soccer there, but it was really impactful for me to be able to come and get the academics that I really wanted. I wanted that challenge academically as well. And so the scholarships came a little bit later. I know a few years after they started adding some scholarships for the men's and women's programs. So, just embrace the opportunities that you have here, because they didn't exist even, and I'm about, 12 years out now? 12 years ago. So just thinking about the drastic change just from then to now. Like, I think I graduated with 4 pieces of gear, and you guys probably get 4 pieces of gear in a year, right? So those are huge changes, and you also have a lot of changes when it comes from the development side of things, of people fundraising for you and supporting you. All of the trailblazers that came before you are the ones that are supporting you and providing you with those opportunities. So just remember that when you move forward, and it's your turn to be that alumni that's giving back to your program.
Thank you. Jennifer, how do you feel your athletic experiences have helped to shape who you are today?
I think my experiences playing on a team sport and team sports throughout my years of growing up, but particularly at Bucknell, when you really start to mature and your teammates are fairly mature as young adults, and you begin to learn roles that people play on a team, and that translates then to later in life. For myself, I've been in the business world for close to 30 years now, but you begin to understand who's a good bunter, who can steal bases, and you learn how to utilize those individuals for what they are. And when you get into the business world, then you learn to utilize, okay, this individual's good at accounting. This individual can run this piece of machinery better than the other one. So everything we do in life, I think, is transformed around teamwork, and I think we've all, especially on a team sport, we've learned to appreciate that more as we've traveled through our sporting lives.
So back to you, Terry. That same question, but looking at the span of your career, from a student athlete all the way to an administrator, how has athletics shaped your life?
So I actually went to a state school, and remember, you got to remember, it was the first start of Title IX. We didn't have all the luxuries as today, so we were just excited to get one pair of sneakers and a kilt and a shirt. And then I come here, and we still are bare minimum. But I think I would say to now and later in my coaching life and as an administrator, I'm very jealous of all your teams. I mean, you get so much, but we learned to appreciate what we had. And we played, the kids weren't on scholarships, they played for the love of the sport. They didn't play because they were getting paid. And, did that make me bitter? Maybe a little bit, but I hope I never showed it as an administrator or a coach, that I was jealous of other teams. They were traveling in buses and we were traveling in vans. And in that piece, I said that we're not where we need to be yet, because there's still, even just across the Patriot League, there's so many inequalities across the board. Number of assistant coaches, number of full-time assistant coaches, salaries. Did I answer the question? I forgot totally.
You answered that question, and you actually answered the next question, which was, after 50 years of Title IX, have we done enough, or is there still more to do?
I just said,
You just answered it, so it's open to the rest of you. Yeah.
I mean, do you want to go? From my perspective, before I came here as a member of the staff for the Center of Career Advancement, I was a women's soccer head coach at the Division III level at a local college. And I think I see a lot that needs to change to get more female representation in coaching staffs and in administrative roles. The department that I was in, I was one of 3 female coaches, and then I left. I had my son who had health complications, and the reason I left was not because I didn't want to coach anymore. It was because I literally couldn't coach and raise my child. My child had some medical conditions that I had to deal with, and it required me to take a lot of time off. Well, between the on-the-road recruiting, the nights and weekends, and then him being sick and me having to take time off, I got 2 family leave days. The rest of my vacation time was blown to sit at home and take care of my son because I wasn't allowed to work remote and work from home. And there's institutions like that that still exist that make it very, very difficult for women to really coach. And to the women that want to coach, I want to be a part of coaching, and I couldn't do it and be fair to my son at the same time. So I had a huge decision to make. A tough one, right? But when it came down to it, my son mattered more than my coaching career. So will I be done coaching? No, probably not. I coached his futsal this winter, so that was fun. 3-year-old playing futsal. But there is a lot to do, especially from an institutional perspective. Maybe not here. I know there's still some stuff here, but we're light years ahead of other schools. And that's what I think, there needs to be a lot of work in that realm.
I think I brought up the idea of scholarships before. There are some current teams that are still limited in terms of the number of scholarships that they have to offer, and I think because they're limited in this way, there are so many high school female student athletes who are gifted in their sport and really don't get the opportunity to compete at the next level because of this. So I think that's another area where we could still improve upon, although we have made improvements in the past.
Jennifer, you were going to say something?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
So it's been 50 years since Title IX, and some would say, 50 years, we've come so far. What else can we be doing?
Yeah, so we've absolutely come so far from what Grebe talks about, and I can relate to some of that with, we did not have a fall field to practice on. We would have to go downtown to the Danny Green Little League field. We did not have dugouts. We couldn't play a home schedule in the fall because we didn't have a field. So just all of that and the opportunities that are there today for today's student athletes and the trips we would make off campus to southern trips. We would take vans to Myrtle Beach, and then finally my senior year we were able to go to Florida to more better weather during spring break and play better competition. But I think part of it too that we see evolving is the media and the marketing surrounding women's college sports, and it's brought it more to the forefront, not just to those of us in the room who compete and like to be involved in women's college sports, but to society as well. So the more media and marketing attention that comes to women's sports through Title IX, that's advantageous to us as well.
There's an area that I don't know if many of you know the inequality that goes across. I write checks for officials. There is so much more money for male officials in male sports than there is for female officials. You're doing the same game. You're doing the same job, and it's apples and oranges. It's not even close. So why I'm looking at this is because in retirement, maybe I should be an official. Well, shoot, no, not if I can get paid as much as the guys. Yeah, it's a big inequality. We have an official sitting right down here. Yeah, I mean, they do get paid well, but not as well as they should be getting paid, especially having to deal with all the parents these days.
And so what does the next 50 years of Title IX look like as you plan on sitting on this panel 50 years from now, celebrating the 100 years? I know. Terry, don't look at me like that. What would you expect the panelists at that point to say in response to looking back? Where would you like us to be?
I think Jen made a really good point about, media and just the coverage of our events as a way to increase just engagement from all of their spectators and really a way to, improve the participation rates from our future generations to come. So I hope to see that on the rise.
I would also guess that maybe in 50 years, each team will have their own strength coach, their mental coach, their nutritionist. I think we're going more towards that route. I'm just guessing. I won't be on the panel then.
I won't be on the panel
We're
then
going to
either.
download your consciousness and have you speak at that panel.
If I'm here, this will be a rocking chair.
I think just overall parity, and I think we get closer to that every year, but parity between men's and women's sports from all angles, and I think that will be the continued evolution of Title IX and what we'll see in the future.
And I think I'd like them to be able to say that, there are more female role models as coaches. I know the numbers are low right now, but I'd like to see that increase, and still recognizing where we came from. I think it's important that we always recognize, where we came from to where we are now. So I hope that they can look back and recognize what, you two went through as, young student athletes to where athletics is today.
What is one thing that you wish you'd taken advantage of while you were at Bucknell that you hadn't?
I'll go.
I know this wasn't on the list of questions, so it's like stump the chump now.
I was a very, I think you'll attest to this, a very intense athlete. And I came to school for the wrong reasons. I came to school to play Bucknell, to play sports at Bucknell. And I think I would have taken more time to just relax and enjoy my time off the field with my teammates and get to know them better, rather than being so stressed on the field and on the practice field and in
She
the
was
field house and in the weight
hardcore,
room.
let me tell you. She was wound.
I would say I would have gone to study abroad. I had the opportunity to go in the spring, and I opted not to. I'd opted not to because I was an intense athlete, and I had saw previous teammates go abroad and then come back and perform very poorly because they did nothing in the spring athletically. Now, I probably would have played soccer while I was abroad, but I think that's one thing I would have done. I think I missed out on a really cool experience that you don't get to really have after you leave college. So if you can go study abroad, please go do it.
I think I would have, used more of my resources in times where I was really struggling in terms of, going through an injury. I mean, no matter what, when we're going through sports, it's mentally taxing, it's physically taxing on our bodies, but especially, at our lowest points, we need to use our resources to our advantage.
I'm not really sure. When I first came, I had 3 people on my first team that were older than me. So I started off with an identity problem right away. I might have, I don't know, reached out to, there wasn't really anybody to reach out to for guidance and help. Peg was an administrator, but she hadn't coached, so, maybe trying to find someone to help mentor me more.
What's one piece of advice you would offer a current student athlete who's in the process of applying for internships, jobs, or graduate school?
Should I answer this one?
I feel like you can answer it last.
Come to the Career Center. We are there to help you. Or I will come to you. I think my advice is to take the opportunity to get an internship, do research, do something while you are here to figure out what you want to do after you leave here. Do not focus so heavily on just your academics and just your athletic success, because the future is coming whether you like it or not. And the future is typically not in athletics. As an athlete, it is your job. So speaking from personal experience, I bounced through lots of jobs after I left here because I didn't do that, so don't be me. Do as I say, not as I do. And, the CCA is here to help you find those internships. If you have no idea what you want to do, we can help you figure it out, or at least give you an idea of where to start. And like I said, I am the new liaison in our office to athletics, so I will be working a lot with Jen and Aline and probably Natasha to really help, connect you guys to our resources so that way you can help figure out what you want to do after you leave here.
I would say, as coaches, you should be hooking your players up with former players who have the same majors, or if they want to go into whatever, you find someone who was a former player that is in that same field, because we did a lot of that. And whether it's through emails or whatever, they can communicate back and forth through their whole 4 years. But I would work with alumni on your own team.
I think that's a good point, and even if it's shadowing, a former student athlete here who is studying or is working in the field that individual is studying in, take some time to reach out to those alumni and try and shadow and spend some time in the area that individual is majoring in.
So if you want to be a professional beer taster, give Jen a call.
So we're all coming to Pottsgrove.
It's a great tour.
Right? And then the final question kind of ties into that. What are the ways that student athletes can start building their networks as students to make sure that they create opportunities for themselves after graduation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is to connect with as many former student athletes and as many Bucknell alumni on networks like LinkedIn. From my experience, I just went through this. The Bucknell Alumni Network loves to connect with and form relationships with one another, and that may be the difference maker in you getting an interview.
I can show you how to find them.
On Handshake.
On LinkedIn. And in Bucknell Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are good points, and I think you'll also find that the alumni and former student athlete community is very open and accepting to talking to future graduates who are student athletes. So I think that would go a long way.
If you have alumni games or alumni weekend, don't be afraid to go up to those people and just say, hey, you know, I hear you're in this business, and just start talking to them. You'll be surprised at what, one, they're going to be flattered, and then second of all, it could lead to something.
So let's open it up to questions from the audience.
Oh, sorry. Hi. My name is Monique Alexander. I'm class of 2005. And I'm glad that Ruby's sitting here because this question is actually really about her. So listening to your stories about the ways in which sports has changed your life from being a child to being an adult now, one of the things that I've really learned much more about Title IX, kind of being with Jen and Tasha this semester, was how much little sports or sports for little kids is super duper important. And I'm wondering if you could talk more about how we could make improvements in Little League sports, because there is a lot of inequity. Ruby can't play basketball because they don't have basketball for little girls who are 8, but boys can, right? And so like we're just trying to navigate a space where we want her to have the things that she can see college athletes have in her own community. So how can we like reinforce the idea that little babies playing sports, little girls playing sports is just as important as college women athletes also having opportunities to play sports?
I'll answer that. I coach a lot of youth sports. I actually prefer youth sports. Sorry, college athletes. You just see a lot more development and a lot more excitement from youth athletics. And I think a big problem is the cost, is a lot of the issue with youth sports. It's very much pay to play here. So even those tiny micro soccer stuff, they're charging $100+ for your kid to do 8 hours. That's a lot. And you think $100 plus 10 kids, it's insane, the amount of money that people make off of sports. And I think finding ways that we can provide athletic opportunities for little kids. I mean, like I said, I coach 3 to 5-year-olds this winter. I think it's important, and it's important for little girls. Out of my 7 kids in that class, only 2 were little girls. But those 2 little girls, their favorite coach was me, not the guy standing next to me. And that's where it's very important to have females involved. So college athletes, you can get involved in youth sports while you're here. An hour a week to have some sort of opportunity to teach young children the sport that you love, that gave you so much, and do it for free. Do it for $10, right? Like, you don't even have to get paid if you don't feel like you need it. But it's just so important to instill in them when they're young these opportunities. And I think that until we can find companies to help sponsor these types of programs, I don't know if it's going to get any better. We need people to be willing to front some money so the cost isn't there, so the kids can just play and just be kids and enjoy and learn and grow through sports.
Is there nothing here at the Miller Center for little girls?
So Ruby can't play basketball right now because it's travel basketball, but there's no little girls basketball 8 and under in Lewisburg. No travel basketball. But if
Here's the mayor. Here's the mayor.
I'm already thinking of who I can get a grant money from to start a basketball team for
right.
Ruby.
if you was a boy, she could play travel basketball right now. She could have been playing travel basketball since she was 5. So we've been asking this whole time for Little Big Hero basketball.
And Kelly Elementary doesn't do anything like,
That's over.
oh.
Yeah, I think,
Boys can play basketball all year round in this town. They can play soccer all year round in this town. Like girls can too, but there are certain sports that kids cannot do in this town all year round.
yeah, basketball is a big one in Williamsport too, that there's not opportunities for young children. The only thing in Williamsport for young children to play basketball is a church basketball league.
Church, yeah.
That's it. There is no travel
That
basketball in
church, what's
Williamsport
the
either.
one over by Goodwill's? Upper Brown, yeah.
On the bio, Krista, it says about STEM. So I guess in a male-dominated area, and I guess this could be really any workplace now, but how has that impacted your outlook on Title IX, I guess?
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that I worked in male-dominated fields my entire until this last job. But I think working in a male-dominated field, it's helped me find my voice, to be able to just speak confidently and speak my opinion and make sure my voice is heard at the table, because I think that you have to do that. So, you know, just as people that came before were screaming about Title IX to have equity in athletics, like those things don't go away in the workplace. So when I worked in product development, I got told that I was very, very direct and too direct at times in my communication. And it is what it is, but I had to be in order to get my point across. And that's something that, you know, you have to be willing to just be confident and make sure that your value is being seen and being heard. Because I think that sometimes it can get stifled out in a male-dominated field.
I would add to that you have to be persistent. You can't just say it once, because they're just going to let it go. Keep going back, keep going back, keep going back till you get it.
I would say, working in the beer industry, it's very male-dominated, and our company's in such a unique position that the sixth generation of my sisters and I are certainly all female, and I think we've learned, I've been in the business for about 26 years now, I've learned you got to work hard, you've got to prove yourself, ask a lot of questions, and just keep asking those questions until you're accepted, and show the confidence. Don't show that you're scared or intimidated. And again, I think I learned a lot of that through playing sports, like being on the field or on the pitch. Like you have confidence out there, and I think that translates into your career, and for me, into the business world.
I just hit the mirror for a dog park.
Every veterinarian I know says no.
Hello, my name is Mackenzie Hilling. I'm a sophomore on the softball team, and I'm up here today just on behalf of all student athletes to say thank you. Thank you to the trailblazers that came before us, because without you guys, we would not be in the opportunities that we are today. And then thank you to our panelists for coming out here tonight, giving up your time, sharing your stories with us and how Title IX has affected you and impacted you. I think this conversation has resonated with everyone here, so we really appreciate that. And I think we can all say that we gained a little bit of appreciation for the opportunities we have. So as a little thank you, we do have these little goodie bags for you. So, yep.
Maybe it's a dog park for you.
As we close, thank you all for coming and sharing with us and listening to the experiences of all of our panelists, Hall of Famers, and future Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for celebrating the 50 years of Title IX with us. I'd like to thank our Title IX committee for helping to put today's events together. I'd like to thank all of our alumni who came back, attended our networking session with our student athletes earlier, and then also here at the panel. Thank you, panelists. We appreciate you and your conversation. Thank you all. I know our softball games were postponed to Sunday, but if you're here, we're playing a doubleheader. On Sunday, come out, support. We also have water polo tomorrow. It is their senior day. So please, if you're around still, please come out and support. But thank you all and have a good evening.